What if everything you've ever failed at wasn't actually failure, but preparation? What if your potential isn't something you need to discover, but something you need to stop hiding from? Today, I'm going to tell you about Elena Rodriguez, a woman who spent 10 years convinced she was ordinary, only to discover she had been extraordinary all along. Her story will show you that the gap between who you are and who you could be isn't about talent, luck, or opportunity. It's about one simple choice: the courage to stop playing small. Because here's the truth most people never realize. Your potential isn't locked. You are the one holding the key. You've always been holding it. The question is, are you brave enough to turn it? Elena sat in the back of the auditorium, watching another teacher receive the Educator of the Year award. It was the 5th year in a row she had attended this ceremony. The 5th year she had told herself, maybe next year. But Elena knew the truth. Next year would be the same, because she had stopped trying to be extraordinary a long time ago. 10 years earlier, Elena had started teaching with fire in her soul. She was going to be different. She was going to transform lives. She had notebooks filled with innovative lesson plans, creative teaching methods, and bold ideas for engaging students who had given up on learning. But then reality hit. Her first experimental lesson, a hands-on science project she had spent weeks planning, ended in chaos. Students complained. Parents called the principal. Her colleagues whispered that she was trying too hard and making them look bad. So Elena learned to fit in. She used the standard curriculum. She taught from the textbook. She gave traditional tests. She became safe, predictable, forgettable. She became exactly what she had promised herself she would never be: ordinary. The stakes weren't just about winning an award. Elena was 42 years old, and she could feel her dreams dying. Every year, she watched younger, hungrier teachers take risks and get recognition while she played it safe and remained invisible. She had job security, but no fulfillment. She had a paycheck, but no purpose. Worse than professional stagnation was the personal cost. Elena went home every day feeling like a fraud. She lectured her students about reaching their potential while she had given up on her own. She told them to be brave while she hid in mediocrity. She inspired them to dream big while she had stopped dreaming altogether. Her teenage daughter, Sophia, had recently asked her, "Mom, what's your dream? What do you really want to do with your life?" Elena had no answer. She had forgotten what it felt like to want something so badly that the fear of failing couldn't stop her. The real stake Elena faced wasn't just a wasted career. It was a wasted life. And somewhere deep inside, she knew that if she didn't change soon, she would wake up at 65 having never discovered what she was truly capable of. 2 weeks after the award ceremony, Elena's principal called her into his office. Her heart sank. After 10 years of playing it safe, what could possibly be wrong? Principal Martinez didn't smile as she sat down. "Elena, I need to talk to you about something serious." Her mind raced through worst-case scenarios: budget cuts, performance issues. "I've been reviewing teaching effectiveness data across our school," he continued, "and I need to be honest with you. Your numbers are concerning." Elena felt her face flush. "But my students pass their tests. I follow the curriculum exactly." "That's the problem," Martinez interrupted. "Your students pass, but they don't excel. They meet minimum requirements, but they're not engaged. Compared to other teachers at your experience level, your classroom shows the lowest student enthusiasm scores we've ever recorded." The words hit like a physical blow. Elena had spent 10 years playing it safe, and all she had accomplished was boring her students to death. Martinez leaned forward. "Here's what I don't understand, Elena. 10 years ago, you interviewed for this position with the most innovative teaching philosophy I'd ever heard. You talked about revolutionizing how we engage struggling students. You had me convinced you were going to be one of our best teachers. What happened to that person?" Elena felt tears threatening. "I tried," she whispered. "It didn't work. Students complained. Parents complained. It was too risky." "Too risky?" Martinez raised an eyebrow. "You know what's actually risky, Elena? Wasting your potential because you're afraid of criticism. Look, I'm not firing you. but I am challenging you. I'm giving you 1 semester, just 1, to show me that teacher I interviewed 10 years ago. Because if she still exists, this school needs her. And if she doesn't, maybe you need to ask yourself why you're still here." Elena left his office, shaking. She had 2 choices: continue playing small and accept mediocrity, or risk everything to unlock the potential she had buried a decade ago. That night, Elena couldn't sleep. She pulled out the old notebooks from her first year of teaching, the ones filled with lesson plans she had never used, ideas she had never tried, dreams she had abandoned. Reading through them, she felt a strange mixture of grief and anger. These ideas were good. Actually, they were brilliant. But she had let fear convince her they were crazy. At 2 a.m., Elena made a decision. She would spend the next semester teaching the way she had always dreamed of teaching. If she failed publicly, at least she would fail trying. But if she succeeded, if she finally unlocked the potential everyone kept telling her she was wasting, maybe she could become the teacher and the person she was meant to be. The next morning, Elena walked into her classroom with a completely new lesson plan. Instead of starting with a lecture about World War II, she divided students into groups and gave them a challenge. "You are political leaders in 1938. Your country is facing economic collapse. What would you do? You have 40 minutes to propose a solution." The room erupted, not in chaos, but in energy. Students who usually slept through class were suddenly debating, arguing, strategizing. They made connections between history and current events that Elena had never explicitly taught. They were thinking, not just memorizing. One student, Marcus, a kid who had failed her class the previous semester, looked up at her with genuine excitement. "Miss Rodriguez, this is actually cool. Why didn't we do this before?" Elena smiled, her heart pounding. "Because I forgot that you're capable of thinking for yourselves. I won't make that mistake again." But not everyone was impressed. By lunchtime, 2 parents had emailed complaints. By the end of the week, a colleague had reported to the principal that Elena's classroom was too loud and not following the approved curriculum. Elena faced the same crossroads that had defeated her 10 years ago. She could retreat back to safety, or she could keep pushing forward. This time, she chose courage. 6 weeks into Elena's transformation, something unexpected happened. Marcus, the student who had been failing, stayed after class one day with tears in his eyes. "Miss Rodriguez, I need to tell you something," he said quietly. "Last year I was planning to drop out. I hated school. I thought I was stupid. But your class, it's the first time a teacher has ever made me feel like I can actually think, like my ideas matter." He pulled out a piece of paper, an essay he had written on his own, without any assignment requiring it. It was about how history repeats itself and what modern society could learn from past mistakes. It was thoughtful, well-researched, and brilliant. "I want to go to college now," Marcus said. "I didn't think I could before, but if I can do this—" He held up the essay. "Maybe I can do anything." Elena felt something break open inside her chest. This was why she had become a teacher. Not for awards or recognition, but for this exact moment, watching a student discover their own potential because she had finally stopped hiding hers. But the story doesn't end there, because courage always gets tested. The next week, Principal Martinez called Elena back to his office. This time, there were 3 parents waiting with him, parents who wanted Elena removed from teaching their children. They claimed her methods were experimental, unproven, and risky. They wanted traditional teaching. They wanted safety. Elena sat there, listening to them explain why she should go back to being mediocre, and she felt the old fear rising. These were powerful parents. They could make her life difficult. They could damage her career. Then she thought about Marcus, about the light that had returned to his eyes, about the student he would become because someone had finally seen his potential and demanded that he live up to it. Elena took a deep breath and did something she had never done before. She stood her ground. I understand your concerns, Elena said calmly. But I need to tell you something that might be uncomfortable to hear. The parents exchanged glances. Principal Martinez leaned back in his chair. For 10 years I taught the safe way, Elena continued. I followed every rule, used every approved method, and produced students who could pass tests but couldn't think critically. I produced students who met minimums but never reached maximums. I kept everyone comfortable, including myself. And you know what? I was failing. One parent started to interrupt, but Elena raised her hand. Please let me finish. Your children are capable of so much more than we've been asking of them. Marcus was failing my class last year when I taught traditionally. Now he's writing college-level essays on his own time. Tanya barely spoke in class before. Now she leads group discussions. James, who you said hates history, stayed after school yesterday to debate whether democracy or socialism better addresses economic inequality. But the curriculum, one parent began. The curriculum is a floor, not a ceiling, Elena said firmly. We're supposed to meet it, yes, but we're also supposed to exceed it. We're supposed to prepare students for a world that will demand they think creatively, work collaboratively, and solve problems that don't have clear answers. You can't learn those skills by filling out worksheets and memorizing dates. Elena turned to Principal Martinez. You challenged me to show you the teacher you hired 10 years ago. Well, here she is. And I'm not going back. Because I've finally remembered something crucial. My job isn't to make everyone comfortable. My job is to unlock potential in my students and in myself. If that makes people uncomfortable, then I'm doing it right. The room was silent. Elena's heart pounded. She had just risked everything. Her job security, her professional relationships, her comfortable routine. Principal Martinez stared at her for what felt like an eternity. Then, slowly, he smiled. I'm not removing you from your classroom, he said. In fact, I'm asking you to lead a professional development workshop for the entire teaching staff. Because what you just described, that's exactly what this school needs. The parents left dissatisfied, but Elena didn't care. She had finally stopped letting fear make her decisions. 3 months later, Elena stood on stage at the district-wide education conference, sharing her journey from mediocrity to excellence. But she wasn't talking about teaching methods or curriculum strategies. She was talking about potential, and how the biggest obstacle to unlocking it is the fear of being seen, judged, and criticized for trying. I spent 10 years of my career playing small, Elena told the audience of hundreds of educators. I convinced myself I was being realistic, practical, professional. But the truth was simpler and more painful. I was scared. Scared of failing publicly, scared of being criticized, scared of discovering that maybe I wasn't as good as I thought I could be. She paused, looking across the sea of faces. But here's what I learned. You can't unlock your potential from a place of safety. Potential isn't something you discover by playing it safe. It's something you build by taking risks, making mistakes, and refusing to let fear make you small. Elena shared the data from her transformed classroom. Test scores up 40%, student engagement at an all-time high. 3 students who had been failing were now being recommended for advanced placement classes. But more importantly, she shared the stories, students who had discovered they were capable of far more than anyone had ever asked of them. The secret isn't a special teaching method, Elena concluded. The secret is believing in potential. Your students' potential, yes, but first and most importantly, your own. Because you can't unlock someone else's greatness if you're still hiding yours. 6 months after that conference, Elena received an email from Marcus. He had graduated with honors and been accepted to 3 universities with full scholarships. He wrote, "Thank you for seeing who I could become before I could see it myself. But more than that, thank you for showing me what courage looks like. You didn't just teach me history, you taught me that it's never too late to become who you're meant to be." Elena printed that email and hung it on her wall. Not because it proved she was successful, but because it reminded her of what was possible when she stopped hiding. The following year, Elena was nominated for Educator of the Year. But this time, winning didn't matter. She had already won something more valuable: herself. If you're watching this video today, I want to ask you a question that might be uncomfortable. What potential are you hiding? What dreams have you abandoned because they felt too risky? What version of yourself have you buried because people criticized you once, twice, a dozen times? What extraordinary life are you sacrificing in exchange for comfortable mediocrity? Here's the hard truth. Your potential isn't locked in some treasure chest waiting to be discovered. It's not hiding somewhere external that you need to find. Your potential is being suppressed by your own fear. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of discovering that you might actually be capable of extraordinary things. Elena's story isn't unique. It's universal. We all have a moment when we choose between comfort and courage, between safety and significance, between who we are and who we could become. The tragedy isn't that most people lack potential. The tragedy is that most people never unlock it because they're too afraid of what might happen if they try. So here's your challenge. Identify one area of your life where you've been playing small. Maybe it's your career. Maybe it's a creative project you've been too scared to start. Maybe it's a relationship you've been afraid to pursue, or a conversation you've been avoiding. Whatever it is, take one courageous action this week that moves you from safe to significant. Stop waiting for permission to be extraordinary. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop waiting until you feel ready, because you'll never feel ready. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's action in the presence of fear. Your potential isn't something you need to find. It's something you need to stop hiding. It's been inside you all along, waiting for you to be brave enough to let it out. Remember Elena's transformation. She didn't gain new skills or talents. She simply stopped letting fear convince her she was ordinary. She already had everything she needed. She just needed the courage to use it. You have that same courage inside you right now. The question isn't whether you're capable of unlocking your potential. The question is, are you brave enough to try? Stop playing small. Stop hiding. Stop letting fear convince you that mediocrity is safer than magnificence. Your potential is waiting. The world is waiting. And most importantly, the person you're meant to become is waiting. It's time to unlock it. Thank you for watching. If Elena's story inspired you, share this video with someone who needs to remember their own potential. And remember, failure isn't the opposite of success. Playing small is. Now go out there and show the world what you're really capable of. Your extraordinary life is waiting on the other side of your fear.